Welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott, and I'm joined as always by EastCountySports.com's Dave Dickens. Dave, we renewed ourselves for Season 2 of our football preview, but we're out here at Grossmont High School on a brilliant day and getting an early start on the season as they're changing things up a bit, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, let's just start it off with the Helix Highlanders. They were anointed the unofficial title as the county's #1 ranked team heading into the 2018 season. When the media poll was released on Monday, Helix is the defending CIF Open Division champions and are coming off a state game bowl appearance last December. Dave, you saw the poll when it came out. Steel Canyon was number 10, of course Helix was number 1, and we had some other teams that also received some votes, and some that surprisingly didn't receive votes. What are your thoughts on the poll?
Well, first thing I want to say is, Ramon, how do I get on that list? Because I'm not on that list yet of one of the voters, but I'm going to look into that. That's my next order of business. But let's get right into it. I did see two other teams that were definitely deserving of being, I thought they'd rank a little higher, but I was surprised to see the Eagles in there. They received 3 votes, as well as Monte Vista with 1. Monte Vista is probably going to be winning their league rather, and Granite Hills, you know, going into that Hills League, that's going to be a little tougher schedule. But you know what? They're real confident with their quarterback now that Jake Siegfried is gone. A lot of tutelage that went into it, so I think Chris is going to do just fine behind center. And then we got Ethan Bishop coming back. He's going to be a fantastic, outstanding player this year. And then Monte Vista is just loaded. You know, with Kenny Davis having to come up there, that's going to be one thing, but their running game's solid, their linemen are solid, their veterans. I think Hamamoto's got those guys in shape to definitely not take it easily, but they're going to definitely take that league.
Well, they got some interesting games coming up because of the switch that we'll talk about in just a few minutes, the realignment, if you will, of the Grossmont leagues. But I just want to touch on the Highlanders, and we're going to talk about the team's games real quick, and we'll touch on each team as we go along. The Highlanders rank near the state's top 25 rankings, and they're going to highlight this Friday night's card as we get the season started a week earlier this year. CIF moved the date up just to accommodate. We're going to finish before Thanksgiving. We might get to take some time off a little bit, but they're going to take on the 12th ranked team in the state, the Cajon High Cowboys of San Bernardino, on the road in the mightiest of early challenges. The Cajon Cowboys feature 4-star quarterback Jaden Daniels, receiver Darren Jones, linebacker Jonathan Perkins. Helix, they certainly have some stars too in this game. San Diego State-bound senior Michael Shawcroft, he's the local area, I'm talking about East County, the top returning defensive player in my eyes and maybe in yours as well. Also for Helix, all East County first-team running back Elion Noah. He scored 2 touchdowns in that scrimmage against Vera Mesa on Saturday in the SDFNL Kickoff Classic. This is going to be a high-caliber contest, and you can see it on the NFHS network. There's a subscription required for that. Dave, I have Cajon winning this one by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going to actually interject on that one, and I'm going to give Helix. It's going to be a little closer. I'm going to say Cajon by 3. I think it is going to be one of their first 3 games that are tough games on that schedule. If they can get 2 out of those first 3, they're going to be rolling in, and the schedule gets not simple, but it does ease up a bit after those first 3 foes.
I tell you, it is a great schedule, a great looking schedule if you like high school football. Helix is going to be in some great games every week, including when we get to the league contest against some of these great teams, including the Steel Canyon Cougars, which won their state bowl game championship last season, as well as the Division II title over Ramona. What a season for the Cougars. Now, they were tabbed as the 10th ranked team by that panel. We talked about it, and they've moved up to Division I. They're going to open against Carlsbad. Dave, the Cougars, probably I think the best 1-2 running back combo in the league in Kenneth Watson and explosive sophomore newcomer Wes Neely. Maybe I don't know as much about the Cougars as I thought. Just want to send my apologies to Coach Longerbone. You know, I tend to hang out on the internet where we talk about high school football all night, and I sometimes believe what I hear. But anyway, the Cougars, hey, this is going to be a big year, and we're going to have some big games when we get to league. We're playing Carlsbad on Friday night.
Yeah, well, Coach Longerbone said he is actually looking forward to playing Carlsbad, and he did give them credit. He said there's, and I quote, quite a few studs over there on that Carlsbad team. But he thinks that he's got his team prepared and ready to go. Yeah, I mean, you can't replace, like he said, you can't replace somebody like Fishburne that had been there for 3 seasons behind center. I mean, he was just phenomenal, and you definitely can't replace that big tight end in Mikkel. But he does say that he's got the depth and that everybody's buying into the program. So I do see Steel Canyon winning most of their games, and probably, I'm just gonna say the first game, they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Awesome. I mean, the Lancers do have superstar Asa Turner, definitely one of the candidates for the Player of the Year in the San Diego section, and they also have D1 O-line prospect Carlos Harris. But I'm going to give the nod, of course, to the Cougars as well. I'm going to give a lean to the polls, if you will. The polls after the Cougars up there. I didn't have the Cougars as high as the rest of the pollsters did. I'm going with the Cougars in this one by a field goal. And your Granite Hills Eagles, you talked about them a little bit. They were inside of the top 20 of those teams in the preseason poll, following their shift back to the Grossmont Hills League after winning the Hills title last year in that great game with Monta Vista. You talked about quarterback Chris Ostring taking over for Jake Siegfried, but I think the shift is on the defense a little bit. They had some great defenders last year, and I think these returning guys are already good, and they learn from those guys. And we're talking about middle linebacker Noah Espinoza, who had those sacks. We talked about how great the other Eagles defenders were, but it was Noah that got those sacks early in the season because everyone was focused on everybody else. So he looks good. And Bishop was an all Grossmont Valley League choice last season. Believe it or not, they're very experienced defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. And after speaking to Coach Cobbs, he's actually very confident entering the different higher ranked league in the Grossmont Conference, and he said that he does think that he has them ready, and then he has those few conference games, or those non-conference games first to start out with, and going into the first game he's pretty confident that he'll be able to maintain that game.
Sure. They're going to host Poway on Friday night, and the Titans return 8 starters from last year's 3-8 team. So I've got the Eagles by 2 touchdowns.
Absolutely.
The Monta Vista Monarchs were tabbed inside the top 25 in that poll. Maybe they were deserving of a little bit higher ranking, but of course they were the Division 4 champion in CIF, which was a great honor, not up there with the other divisions, but no doubt an incredible season for the Monarchs. Brought to life by San Diego State-bound superstar Jamon McClendon. He's the East County's top returning offensive player, with all due respect to Elion Noah. I mean, McClendon is our poster boy, if you will, out here in the East County, I think, this season. And of course, they had that incredible game where they led 48-7 in this. They led big in the state playoffs. I think it was 43-7, whatever it was. Catella came back and
8 touchdowns.
Beat Monta Vista. So I think that's standing out in the minds of Jamon and Blake Schmidt and Ron Berry and some of the some of the Monarchs as they go on throughout this season, which is going to be a tough and challenging season to repeat their success.
Well, I had a short conversation with Blake Schmidt, and he said that they call it the War Room. And what they did is they went ahead and they took all of that championship stuff down off of the walls, so the walls are bare. And he said he even took his ring off because he wants to focus on the season at hand. And after talking to Coach Hamamoto,
yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, he goes, are you kidding me? He didn't even know that. But I'll tell you what, the Monarchs are ready for this season. They're putting that championship behind, and they're ready to go.
And we'll mention Schmidt. He's already made his declaration for Montana State, so he's going to be a Bobcat. Now we're out here at Grossmont High School, and I just want to state that the best of the rest of the East County, I mean, can you believe it? We're talking about the Grossmont Foothillers as the best of the rest? Please. They're probably the most overlooked team by the pollsters. They did not even receive a vote in that poll, so I think that they're off on this one. I mean, this is a situation where Grossmont might have the most explosive offense in the East County behind junior quarterback Jamie Odom, who passed for nearly 2,000 yards last season, and a trio of great receivers experienced. Thomas Mangum, Desmond Carter, and Zach Ferris. They combined for 82 receptions and 16 touchdowns last year. I mean, that's certainly going to do that again and more.
And let's not forget about the transfers on that defensive side with Danny Yanez coming over from Steel Canyon, and then also Darren White. Those are going to be some impact players when they serve their time, as they say. I think they're going to be huge, and Coach Carlo, his thoughts on the whole season is we have plenty of depth as long as we stay healthy. He was particular on his offensive line.
Yeah, and of course the Grossmont returns those veterans, Alex Golajevson Jr., Chris Alba, a certain D1 prospect. The Foothillers host Bishops on Friday in a game that's sure to feature plenty of offense. Coach Joel Allen's club, led by quarterback Tyler Buckner, and Bishops has lost just 2 games over the last 2 years, but I have the Hillers winning this one by 10 points.
I'm going to have to go out on a limb, and I'm going to actually say that I got the Hillers by 17.
Dave, 2 East County clubs are going to face each other in Lakeside when the Christian High Patriots drive up the 8 to visit El Capitan. Christian's Alex Gonzalez is one of the area's speediest playmakers, and senior Owen Easley, he's definitely looking the part, looking like a natural, leading the Patriots offense.
Yeah, you know, they had a fantastic tune-up, as you said, Helix had with Mira Mesa. They did their same thing, taking on the Lancers of Hilltop. And I'll tell you what, Christian looked really solid because the Lancers are predicted to be a pretty tough physical team as well, especially offensively. And the Christian defense stepped up. Not only that, but Owen had a nice little toss over to Alex Gonzalez towards the end of the game. Happened to pass right by me, the little speedster. And very enjoyable. I think Christian's going to go out there, put on a good show. But at the same time, don't let anybody be fooled. Even though El Cap did lose to the Speedsters of Morris, I still think that Ron Berner is going to have his guys ready, and he's got that great line in front of senior Wickhauser, and I think that that line's going to hold up, and they have a secret weapon that I can't unleash yet, that I've been told per Coach Berner himself, so I'll keep that on the DL. But they definitely have a secret weapon in the running game that they're going to unleash on the first game of the season. But I think that that's definitely the game of the week, with Christian and El Cap facing each other. And David Beezer and Ron Berner, I found out, have been great friends for many years. So it should be one that you should definitely tune into.
I think that is our East County game of the week. Some people are saying there's some other games that maybe it's the East County game of the week. We've got 2 East County teams playing each other. This is the East County game of the week. Patriots are going to be busy defensively. Both teams busy defensively. Probably get some points out of this one. But I want to mention Christian linebacker Bryce Reipel. I think he's going to be one of the best defensive players in the East County this year. And for El Capitan, you talked about Wickhauser. Hopefully he's strong and healthy. And let's get El Capitan moving in the right direction, especially with this offense. Yafet Yokley, one of the fastest players around. I have El Cap winning this one by a field goal. Did you pick it?
I'm sorry, but this time I'm gonna disagree with you, Ramon, and I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna say Christian Patriots by 7 at the end.
I want everybody to know that following that game, that the El Capitan Vaqueros are going to meet at Nicolosi's Italian restaurant for a Prep Pigskin Report watch party. So I don't know if everybody, maybe too many people are going to be there at 11:30 at night. But you better get over there after the game. Maybe the Patriots will go too. Wouldn't that be neat to have everyone there representing East County? I'm going to try to get there. I know I've got some other duties that I'll have going on, but I sure would like to go to that. The Santana Sultans won the Battle at the Shores passing league behind new quarterback Nathan Temple and have a rising defensive star in Cameron Laricia. The Sultans host Mountain Empire from Pine Valley in the opener. How about that? The Red Hawks feature two-way stars Dallas Prince and Cameron Will, the brother of late Mountain Empire High star James Will, and quarterback Gabriel Hydorn. He's certainly experienced. I'm going to go with the Sultans in this one, though, by 2 scores. Dave, what about this game? This is the East County co-game of the week.
Well, you know what? I don't think in the SD FNL game, I don't want to say that they were 100% in that game with quarterback Gabe Hydorn being sidelined with some type of illness. So I think with him at 100%, I'm going to just pick it. I'm going to say that it could go either way. But then we got to talk about Dallas Prince too. Phenomenal receiver, but not just a phenomenal receiver. He's also got great hands at that strong safety position. You know, people look at him, they go, oh, that guy's pretty smug. I tell you what, he's a speedster. He's a great tackler. He's got fantastic stats from last year and should not be underestimated. And I did meet that new behind center quarterback, Nathan from Santana, and he looked real good in practice. He looked solid. A little bit of a change from the year before. Not to take anything away from Josh Odewalt. He's going to do great things in college, but I definitely like the way Nathan moves. We got him some mobility behind center at Santana.
And one thing I want to say about Mountain Empire is I don't think that their best players are far off from the rest of the best players that we talk about here on our report. I just think that the depth overall costs them sometimes. Those guys are great stars, and they're going to rack up some big numbers. You're going to be hearing about them, at least from us, every week as they continue to get better. Look, it was a down season last year. Despite all those stats, we wanted them to do better, and I think they can this year.
I think they can win the Manzanita League, and I want to add also that we have a newer member of our team that exclusively covers the Mountain Empire Redhawks in Roxy Burns, and she's doing a great job, and we thank her for all her hard work.
Yeah, we've seen her work already, and did a credible job on that game, that SDNFL game. They didn't look too great, but she made them look pretty good.
Absolutely.
So that's the key. Okay, Dave, the Elkhorn Valley Braves, under new head coach Nick Osborne, host the other local contest on Friday night as Francis Parker visits. Osborne is a former Mountain West second team defensive star as a lineman at SDSU. He's no newcomer, however, to the Braves campus, serving as a math teacher, and he's also helped that resurgent El Cajon Valley soccer program that went on that incredible playoff run. He has been a part of that coaching staff, so he teaches winning. I think that's the big news over there.
Well, you know, I had a small conversation with him, and his basic idea is let's change the culture of El Cajon Valley. We don't want to be that team that, oh, there goes that El Cajon Valley team again. He is mentoring these kids to play professionally, win or lose, right down from the bus ride to the away games, to be professional and just be focused on the way to the game. I was really impressed. I heard that in one of their post-practice speeches, and he is really into this El Cajon team and bringing them back to excellence.
I'm hearing more and more about the El Cajon quarterback. I want to see him in action first, but I think we'll be talking about him a little bit. Want to learn more about him. Ryan Sanborn is the Lancers' big star, and they're rated just a little bit higher than El Cajon Valley, but I'm going to take the Braves in an upset.
I'm going to have to go with Mr. Scott on this one, and I'm going to go with the upset too.
Let's move on before we run out of sun. Here at Grossmont High School, the Mount Miguel Matadors may have made the biggest news during the offseason with the hiring of former Helix and Taft High coach Troy Starr. The Matadors have a mountain to climb, however, but couldn't imagine finding a better guy to get back in the game with the terrific challenge that he'll face.
Yeah, you know, that's the first question I said. I said, why? Why Troy? Why Mount Miguel? He says, I know the numbers are down. He said, but I can tell you something. We're going to build this team, and we are going to win this year, but in 2 years, you're going to really see a solid program. So they're rebuilding, and like you mentioned, they have the coaching staff to do it. And they are buying into what he's teaching. I had a chance to look at their practice, and they almost look Helix-like the way they were practicing. I mean, I wonder why. But they were picking up the system, and I think with the new playbook, and I think JD, that's what they call him back there, Jacob back there behind center.
JD.
So they really look to him for the leadership, and he's a pretty young kid himself. And and then Larry
Azaguirre.
Yeah. Fantastic guy, fantastic kid, real fast, great hands. And you know what? He's got the mental capacity for the game to lead the team.
Well, I think that's the thing. If Coach Starr is going to bring in a quarterback to learn and grow with the system, they've got some veterans now that we know about at Mount Miguel. They did lose some of that skill talent, but they replaced it with some capable guys. So let's let the process work over there. I also want to mention on defense, star Manu Maosi. He's going to get full opportunity to showcase his skills. They're going to travel to face Morse, who looked very impressive in the SDNFL Classic against El Capitan. They had a lot of speed. For now, it's going to be Shamar Martin and Morse by a touchdown over the Matadors.
I'm going to have to concur with that. I wish the Braves, or the Matadors good luck on that game, but I'm going to have to go with Morse myself just because of how quick they are.
Well, the West Hills Wolfpack is led by senior dual threat quarterback Jordan Young, and boy, what a good-looking quarterback he is. But the Wolfpack's chances are enhanced this year by their placement in the Grossmont Valley League, where they last won a championship just back in 2014. So they're back where they're comfortable. They went up and they held their own in the Hills League, but now they're back in the Valley League, and we talk about the Monte Vista Monarchs, that league, but I think that West Hills, don't forget about West Hills, okay?
Well, I think, you know, you're touching on that right now, and I know it's speeding up and looking to the end of the season, but it might just come down to that last game of the season that could determine the championship.
Those two teams played a great game last year, and they've had some good games, and you know, I think West Hills have been favored in those games, and Mount Miguel's kept it close, and West Hills has had the gusto to win the game in the end. So,
well, I think, yeah, you look at that last game of the season, Monte Vista and West Hills is going to be huge.
Now the Pack make a long trek out to El Centro, take on the Southwest Eagles in the opener. Of course, last year they faced Tyler Sycon and the Eagles, but this is still a tough order. Southwest is still a good team. It's not out of the question that West Hills can compete, but I have the Eagles winning this one by 7-10 points, 2 scores.
Well, I can tell you something, though. Let's look back there, too. If you recall, last season, after that loss, I believe they won 5 or 6 games in a row. Let that be noted in favor of the Wolfpack.
The Valhalla Norsemen, our new coach Mike Caston is a 10-year assistant. The 63-year-old will have his team open the season on the road against a veteran University City squad. Austin Scribner and JT Washam are a pair of linemen leading the way for veteran Keegan Baker. He's going to be in there holding the running chores. If Valhalla does go to the air, senior receiver Kiar Worthy is the man to go to. The Centurions have Gunnar Gray, Ilani Rico, and Marcel Patterson. Monte Vista's familiar with these guys. They played some great games against them last year. They're looking to follow up last year's strong season. I've got UC by 10 points. Well, Dave, that's going to do it for our first episode. We beat the sun here at Grossmont High, and boy, this first week is upon us because of the early start that everyone's talked about and how the teams are affected, you know, having to move practice into the last week of summer vacation, if you will, just to get rolling. But we hope all the fans still come out to the games this Friday night. School's just getting rolling, everybody's getting started, so maybe we'll have some great crowds out there.
Well, from the coach's standpoint, there was a little grumbling naturally because that extra week, I won't quote any of the coaches, but 98% of them, that extra week really helps prepare for the opponents. And but like they said, it is what it is, and hopefully, from how I understand CIF saw it, is this is so they can prepare for the next sport. There is so many that go to championships, and you know they're held out for a while, and so with this being said, they looked at it as they're not going to be shorted for the basketball season as a whole.